One of the best pieces of advice that I ever received, actually, it was from my academic advisor in college, and she said, Morgan, when one door closes, another door always opens, but sometimes the hallway in between them is hell. So I just want to let you know that if you ever look at my videos and you're like, wow, look at her home, it's so clean and clutter-free, that's not true. It's just that I've shoved all the clutter out of the frame to create an illusion. Most of the time I'm living in cluttered chaos. And I do my little micro cleans throughout the week, which those do help keep it a manageable chaos. Like, rarely do I feel extremely overwhelmed by it anymore. And I'm okay with that. I'm fine living like that. I know some people aren't. Some people like can't even have dishes in the sink and they just genuinely enjoy cleaning, and it's like, that's amazing. What an amazing thing to enjoy, because you know what I enjoy? Looking at 3 different size screens at the same time and self-loathing. So I'm open to trades. So anyways, that's my way of telling you that I'm gonna get some cleaning and chores done today whilst we chat. It's gonna be a little chat and chores video. That has a nice ring to it. Is that what I should call these going forward? Chat and chores. Doing a chat and chores episode today. I like that. That was me writing that down in my brain. So what are we chatting about, Morgan? Great question. So the other day I hit 10,000 subscribers on here. You're supposed to applaud right there. So if you didn't, you can do it again and go. Thank you very much. And now I know what you're thinking. Morgan, how is this fame and success affecting you? And you know what? It's a lot. I walk outside every day and people pretend like they have no idea who I am because they're too afraid to come up and say hello. No one knows who I am. Most people I meet usually think my name is Megan. It's like a 50-50 shot if they'll remember Morgan or Megan. So I respond to both, if you were wondering. But 10,000 subs on here, that is a big deal. I'm proud of that. I'm happy about it. Very grateful for each and every one of you who sit down or stand up or walk or drive while watching my videos. You probably shouldn't drive while watching my videos, but any of the other ones, those are fine. But because there's so many new people here, I thought it was time that we get to know each other a little better. So over on Instagram, I asked you guys to submit some questions, and now I'm gonna chat about the answers. There's some deep questions, there's some lighthearted questions, there's a little something for everyone. So sit back, enjoy this little chat and chores episode. And please introduce yourself in the comments and leave a little fun fact. And if you're like, Morgan, I hate fun facts. Fun facts give me so much anxiety. I don't think anything about me is fun. 1, I understand and commiserate with you. 2, let me give you a prompt. If you don't have a good fun fact, then either tell me 1, your favorite word. I'll go first. Juxtaposition. Never not fun to say. 2, tell me the best piece of advice you've ever received. Or 3, share with us, do you believe in aliens or not? The correct answer is yes, but I am open to hearing arguments for the opposition. So, okay, that's that. Hopefully you're interested enough to stick around, and let's get started with our chores and our chats. All right, so I'm just gonna quickly properly make the bed, and then I'm gonna wash this top blanket because Goose lays on it all the time. But first question. I don't know why I did 2 fingers for first question. First question is content creator your 9-to-5 job, and how do you do it? So I got a lot of questions like this, just like, what do you do for a living? And the short answer is that I work part-time as a human resources analyst, so like very typical 9-to-5 corporate job. I do that 3 days a week, and then the other 2 days a week I work for myself as a content creator. I do want to go back to the second part of that question though. How do you do it? That's a bit of a longer answer. So basically back in 2020 is when I started creating content. Started a blog and an Instagram page with my friend actually, and it was focused on environmental sustainability. About 6 months or so into us doing that, my friend decided that she wanted to go back to school to be a teacher. I was like, that's amazing, love that for you. I'll just keep doing this social media thing on my own. So for about a year, I was running my Instagram page and my blog while also working full time. And then in 2021, I left my HR job to take a different job, and I ended up hating that job because the leadership was arrogant and didn't really know what they were doing. And my direct boss told me she was crying every day. They just lied about a bunch of stuff. I had no work-life balance and no insurance and less money. So after about 2 months, I was like, I know a toxic workplace when I see one. I'm getting out of here. And so when I quit that job, I decided to try doing content creation full-time for a little bit. So I did it full-time for about 9 months and I didn't love it. I was honestly pretty lonely, and like the whole lack of job security and a consistent paycheck was kind of weighing on me as well. I think there is a misconception that being an influencer, like, oh my god, I'm spilling everywhere. I need to concentrate on this. Hold on one second. There we go. Now I need to clean up my spill. Yeah, I think there's just a misconception when it comes to being a creator, being an influencer, that it's like this super easy, amazing job. But like, don't get me wrong, it is a cool job, but it is still a job. And like consistently creating good content is work. It takes a lot of effort and it's very easy to burn out, especially if you are kind of a lifestyle content creator, because you're basically monetizing your life. You're kind of running your own reality TV show. So the line between content and life can get blurred very easily and basically lead to feeling like you are constantly working and like your whole life needs to be entertainment for human beings on the internet, which it doesn't. And I think also people forget that it is a lonely job. Like with a typical 9 to 5, you're going in, hopefully you're working with a good team every day. If you're not, that's obviously a bigger issue, but hopefully you're going in, you're working with people you like every day, forming bonds with people. When you work for yourself, it's just you. Like maybe you have a manager you talk to every once in a while, maybe you have an accountant, but it's mostly just you. And then if all your friends have 9 to 5 jobs, it becomes harder to relate to them and likewise for them to relate to you. And then like I said, the whole finances thing. I think a lot of people think like you can just make a ton of money posting videos on TikTok, which you can, but it's also not that simple. Because again, it's very hard to consistently make content that gets enough views for you to actually make good money off of it. Like you could get a video with 1 million views, make a few hundred, maybe $1,000 or so dollars, but then your next video could get 2,000 views. So the amount of effort that goes into creating content and creating a community is a lot more than I think people realize. And again, I'm not complaining. It is a cool job, but it is still a job and there are pros and cons to every career. And so anyways, that was a bit of a tangent, but basically I felt lonely and I didn't like the lack of financial security. And so I was just catching up with one of my old coworkers and I was like, hey, do you think our boss would be open to me coming back part-time? I didn't want to go back full-time. I still wanted to do this, but I just couldn't have it be the only thing I was doing. Long story short, they were like, yeah, I think that they'd be open to you coming back. And so I talked to them and they were like, yeah, you can come back. And that was literally the most boring way to tell that story, but it is what it is. So now I've been working part-time for about 2 years and it's been a really excellent balance for me. So anyways, that was a very long answer to what do I do and how do I do it? Okay, enough on that. Next question. Things you wish you knew but know now about moving to a new city. Okay, so a little bit of context. I grew up in Michigan. I moved to New York City for college. I did a semester abroad in London and then I moved to Chicago after college. So I have a decent amount of experience with moving to new cities. The first thing I wish I would have known, probably that moving to your dream city will likely not feel like a dream. I think especially in today's society with social media romanticizing so many big cities, that it's very easy to fall in love with the idea of a city. And then when you actually get there, you're like, oh, this is hard. So for instance, with New York, I fell in love with New York because I'd visited a few times. I watched Gossip Girl, like every millennial, in 2009. And I wanted to work in fashion. And New York is where you go to work in fashion. But I had fallen in love with this kind of fashion industry side of New York City. And I thought moving there, going to school there, I'll meet my people, life will be great, I'll be creative, I'll be cool, like all these things. That's not what happened. It ended up being a very difficult move for me. I think part of the reason why was because there was so much pressure on it. Like this had been my dream for so long and now it was finally happening. So I had very high expectations, and when things turned out to not meet those expectations, it was very easy to become frustrated and to think I'd made the wrong decision. And so that kind of leads into another thing I think you should know before moving to a new place. The adjustment period can be longer than you think. So I really think anywhere you move, you should give it a solid year. A solid year of good effort. Really put yourself out there, say yes to everything, try Bumble BFF for making friends, try to find community, go to book clubs, try sports leagues, like really give it your all. And after a year, if you're still feeling like this is not my place, maybe it's just not your place. I don't think you should come to that conclusion after like a few weeks or a month. It's very easy to move, panic, and be like, oh my god, I hate this place, why did I do this? That's literally just your brain trying to scare you. Like your brain loves the familiar, so if you're doing something different, it's gonna try to get you to go back to what you know. So you need to get past that point. I think after a year, you'll know. That's how New York was for me. Like after a couple years of school, I really hadn't made any friends. I had some acquaintances, but nobody that I was like you're gonna be my best friend for life. Like, I just didn't click with people. I felt very trapped in the city. I felt claustrophobic. I always felt anxious. I never felt like I could ever have alone time. Like, I was always around people, which was exhausting for me. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of really wonderful, beautiful things about New York City. It wasn't my city. And I was kind of in denial about that for a while until I went to study abroad in London. And when I went to London, I immediately felt happier. I immediately clicked with people. I liked that the city was more open. There was still a lot to do, but I didn't feel trapped or claustrophobic. It was cleaner. People weren't like pissing on the street most of the time. And I was just like, this is what it should feel like. It might not always happen immediately, but that's how you should feel when you move somewhere new, when you're trying to evaluate if this is going to be a home or not for you. If you're in a place for a year and you're still feeling lonely and anxious and just like something is off, like then it's just not the place for you. So basically once I got back from London, I was like, I gotta get the F out of New York. Like I really had a much better understanding of what was important to me when picking a city to live in. When I moved to New York, my reasoning was just very skewed. I basically picked it because I thought I wanted to work in fashion, which I learned I didn't want to work in fashion. But then also because I had grown up as an introvert, as a quiet, awkward kid, I really wanted to prove to everyone that I could like live in the coolest and like most difficult city in the United States, which like nobody cared. Nobody who thought I was weird or awkward in school cared that I was moving to New York. But it was just this thing I had to prove to myself. And that was all I thought about when I moved there. I wasn't thinking about what I actually wanted. And so when I got back from London, I was like, I still want to live in a city, but I want to live in a cleaner city. A city where I can do more outdoorsy things, where I can be near water that's kind of cleanish, that I can swim in. I want to live in a city where actually everybody's not chasing their wildest dream and people are okay with kind of just being like chill and normal. In a city where I'm closer to my family, where I don't have to get on a plane or take a 14-hour overnight bus ride to get to them. So Chicago really checked all of those boxes for me. And so when I moved to Chicago, I felt relieved. And like things didn't immediately click into place. It took me some time to make friends and like get a job and all that stuff. But I could tell this city was a better fit for my personality and my vibe. And I kind of let go of this feeling of like failure, which I think is another thing to know before you move to a new city. If you don't end up liking it, you're not a failure. I think especially with cities like New York and like LA, where you go to fulfill your dreams, there's this sense of failure that people don't really talk about if they end up leaving or not liking it. Like I think a lot of people kind of feel like, oh, I failed. Like I couldn't make it in New York. I couldn't make it in Los Angeles. I didn't like it there. And it's like, you didn't fail. You just don't like it. And that's fine. It's literally like not liking sushi. Like you tried it, you don't like it. You're not a weaker person because of it. You're not a failure because of it. It's just not for you. For me, that feeling took a little while to sink in. But I think if you go into a move knowing like, okay, this is a risk, this could end up being the best decision of my life, this could also end up not working out. And if it doesn't, it's not your fault. It doesn't mean you're a failure. It means you tried something and now you know you don't like it. So yeah, I guess pretty much all that to say, just have realistic expectations when you move somewhere new and know that you're gonna have to put in effort to create a life and to create community and make friends and all that good stuff. All that stuff that you imagine your dream life being like, it probably won't just magically happen because you moved to the place you've always dreamed about, if that makes sense. That was a really long-winded answer. Honestly, most of these will be long-winded answers. Okay, let's do a lighter question. Last book you read that you really enjoyed. I got it at the library and I picked it out just because I recognized the cover and I felt like I'd heard a lot of people say it was good. But like, I'll give it a shot. Didn't read the back of it or anything. And from the cover, I thought it was going to be like really witchy or fantasy-like, but it wasn't really. Like the beginning was a little witchy, but the rest of it not really. It's basically just about these 4 siblings and it basically examines the question of like, would you want to know when you're going to die and how would that affect your life? And that's like a very high level summation of that book. There's a lot more to it, but I thought it was very good and I felt like I hadn't read anything else like it. It made me laugh, it made me cry, made me feel all the things, and it wasn't obscenely long. Also, I'm currently reading this book by Jodi Picoult called Plain Truth, which Jodi Picoult was like the first author I ever really dove into. Like I guess you could say I binged some of her books when I was like 14. And then I kind of didn't read her stuff again for a while. And then I was at the thrift store earlier this year and there were a ton of her books for like $1. So I bought them all. And yeah, currently reading Plain Truth and I really like it. Her books always have a little bit of a twist to it. They're usually some sort of mystery kind of, and then also some sort of ethical thing to think about. Like there's always something kind of sad or bad that happens. And then like the person or people who cause that thing to happen, you kind of understand their side of the story. And yeah, her books just do a good job of like showing every side of the story. And so whereas most of the time you're like, this person committed murder, therefore this person is bad. Like you also understand the murderer's point of view. That's a bad explanation. Because murderers are always bad. But then what if you're an abused wife and you murder your abusive husband? Are you bad? It's stuff like that. So some of it could be kind of triggering. Just read the back of the book before you read it, but they're good. I like her as an author. Okay, next question and next question and next chore, which this chore is gonna be kind of a little fashion show because I have a bunch of clothes that I've been thinking about getting altered. I haven't actually taken them to the person who does the altering. The tailor is what that's called. And so I want to try some things on for you guys, and can you just tell me if you think that they're worth actually getting altered? And that's it, that's the whole chore. The question is, have you ever been on anxiety meds and or thoughts about them? So if you're brand new here, I'm a very anxious person. I've had general and social anxiety since it could form thoughts, pretty much. And I talk about it a lot on here. I'm very open about it. And to answer the question, currently, no, I am not on medication. I have tried it about like 5 years ago, I think. I don't remember what the name of it was, and I actually didn't try it for my anxiety. I tried it for my IBS because I guess anxiety meds can help with IBS symptoms, so I was just like, I'll try anything, so let's give it a shot. 1 second while I put this on. I know there's a period when you start anxiety meds that you kind of have to get through before they actually start working, but for me, I could not get through that period. I was so tired, so lethargic, I literally could not work. And I was basically just like, yeah, this is terrible, and it's not helping my IBS, so I'm gonna stop. Okay, so this dress I got on Poshmark, or Depop, not Poshmark. And I thought it'd be like a cute little summery mini dress, but it's kind of long. So I feel like if I just get it hemmed to like here, do I have a safety pin? Ow! Fucking. Ow! This is why you don't put boxes under your bed, because then you can't step off of your bed and then step directly onto them and have them cause you extreme pain. Okay, safety pin. I found a safety pin and a lot of paper clips. If it's like this length, is this cute? Like with a pair of white sneakers or sandals, cute little bag. Here's a close-up of the pattern. Okay, next outfit. But yeah, so not currently on anxiety meds. I think it's one of those things where you just gotta try them yourself. Like if it's something you're curious about, you just gotta try it and see what happens. Because I know for some people find them really helpful. Personally, I understand my anxiety so well now that it's just kind of a part of me, and it doesn't prevent me from living life. Like it makes it a little more difficult to live life, and sometimes it really, really frustrates me, but most of the time I'm able to move past things on my own, and so I would just rather not be medicated, especially if it's gonna make me really tired. Oh yeah, okay, now this outfit. So this skirt is just like obscenely big on me, so I think I'd have to just get it taken down the side. But I just don't know if it's really worth it. The skirt isn't lined, so I don't think it's see-through. Feels a little cheap. I got this on Depop too. I also don't know if I like the color on me. I feel like especially right now because I'm not tan, it kind of washes me out. It's like a pink and orange checkered situation. Anyways, is it worth getting altered? Yay or nay? And next question. You want to buy a home in the future or rent long term? Yeah, I'd love to buy a home. 100% one day I would love to be able to decorate everything the way I want it and like get new countertops and stuff, but I'm pretty comfortable renting right now. One more change. If you'd asked me like 1.5 years, 2 years ago, I would have been like, yeah, I really want to buy something like now. Just because it felt like a sign of like success in your 20s if you were able to like buy a home in your 20s, which I'm still in my 20s. I could still buy a home in my 20s. But then I just had this realization of like, it's actually like kind of hard to own a home. Renting, it's nice to not be responsible for fixing things. Also, this outfit. I really like this outfit. The bottom's like a tad big. I don't know. Here it is just normal. Does it just look fine normal? I kind of want it to be like this, a little tighter. Or am I just being too picky? Should it just... Is this fine? This is probably the most minute change. You're probably like, Morgan, I don't even see a difference. But yeah, basically like a lot of people I know started buying homes a couple years ago, and now I've just kind of realized I don't really want to do that yet. Like they've had to deal with a bunch of pain in the ass repairs and things. And it's just like as a renter, if something happens, I just call my landlord. And also like I don't have to pay HOA fees or property taxes. Is it probably baked into rent? Yes, but I pretend that it's not. And let's sit down for a minute while we finish this question. I also really like the flexibility of renting. I've lived in Chicago 7 years now, something like that. And I like it, but I don't know if this is where I want to stay forever. I've always dreamed of living somewhere a little bit more outdoorsy, somewhere where I could go hiking regularly, somewhere where it's quiet. quieter. And so I don't know if I want to be here forever. Like, I don't want to move right now because we have a great group of friends here. Like, we both have jobs here. But if we reach a point in life where like our friends are getting married and having babies and people are moving, then that would probably be a moment where I'd be like, maybe we should try out somewhere else for a little bit. Because at that point, I wouldn't feel super tied to here. Like, community and friendship is very important to me. And obviously I understand how difficult it is to make new friends when you're going to new places. So I don't want to just move for the sake of moving because I do love our life here. But if at some point things start to change, I would consider it. At the end of the day, we would probably come back to the Chicago area because our families are from here. But yeah, until I know where I'm really staying for the long term, I'm not really in a huge rush to buy because then it just makes it a lot more complicated to move. So sometimes financially it makes more sense to buy a place. Sometimes it makes more sense to rent. So just like do whatever is best for you. Don't let anybody else pressure you one way or the other. Don't let comparing yourself to other people pressure you into buying a house. Like, I also know people who've bought houses and just have like regretted it and been like, we were not ready to do that. So I'm happy renting. We have a really great landlord. She's allowed us to like paint things and whatnot. Like, this was not the color of the room when we moved in. She allows us to have pets, which can be difficult to find in Chicago. Like, we have a parking space. Like, we have a really good setup. I'm really thankful for it. And so yeah, I'm just not in a rush to go buy a place when what we have right now is working for us. What do you love about Chicago and do you plan to stay a while? I think Chicago is one of the best cities. There's so much to do. There's so much good food. There's so much good shopping, thrift shopping included. I have a plant that needs to be potted now, so that's what we're doing. But yeah, Chicago is wonderful. Beautiful, the skyline's beautiful, the lake is beautiful. It's a pretty clean city. The trash isn't on the sidewalks like it is in New York because we have alleys. The people are very down to earth. Like, you've definitely got that Midwestern charm here. I kind of just see it as a smaller, less expensive, much more chill New York. It's honestly a really great city for making friends and dating because there's so many like sports leagues and like hobby leagues. You can do volleyball, you can do bocce, both of which I've done. You can do softball, you can do kickball. I'm sure you can do basketball. I'm pretty sure you can do ultimate frisbee. Like, there's so many leagues you can join, so many events always going on. It's very easy to just get out and meet people. And like I said, I just feel like most people here, obviously not everyone's the same, but most people I've encountered here are pretty down to earth. I certainly do have a few horrific dating stories, but generally I feel like every date I've went on, most of the guys like weren't terrible. It's just like we weren't compatible, like wasn't a fit. I just think Chicago has a very good mix of having a lot of things to do, but at the same time not feeling quite as overwhelming as a city like New York or LA. And as far as how long I plan to stay, I mean, like I said, I've been here 7 years. I don't plan on leaving anytime soon. If some crazy opportunity came up, I would probably take it, depending on where it was. But at this point, this is our home base, and I think even later in life, again, our families live around here, so I think this is where we'll come back to. But I'm definitely not opposed to trying out somewhere else first. I kind of like the idea of the East Coast, like Maine or North Carolina or even like Virginia. I also love the idea of San Diego, but San Diego is super expensive, so I don't know if that would ever happen. But okay, next question. How do you balance your job with content creation and having a life? I don't. No, I've gotten better at it. Being a lifestyle content creator, I alluded to this earlier, it's sometimes hard to draw a line between creation and life. And so like on the weekends, I'll want to film stuff, I'll want to create content because that's when I'm like living my life. But then there's times where I have to be like, no, we're putting the camera away, we're putting the phone away, and this experience is just for me and it's not for strangers on the internet. I feel like I'm very good at drawing that line when hanging out with friends. Like, if I'm gonna do something with friends, I'm not thinking about content. And I've tried to be better about picking things that I'm just like not gonna feature on my social media pages. So like journaling, scrapbook journaling, I talked about that a little bit at the beginning of this year. And then I kind of didn't share much of it on my social media again because I decided that was a hobby I just wanted for myself. I don't wanna worry about filming it when I'm doing it. So that's one way I've created a bit more of a balance. Also, having my 9-to-5 job be part-time has obviously really helped because back when I was doing content creation and working full-time, I was a monster. I was very irritable. I wasn't exercising, I wasn't going outside with Goose. I was just constantly burnt out. It was really bad. Now that I'm able to do part-time, I'm able to fit more self-care things into my routine. I'm able to exercise. I'm able to take my dog out every morning. And I didn't used to think about those things as being essential, and that's why I would work instead of doing them. Like, I would literally work from 6:30 in the morning to 8:30 at night. And now that I do have time to do those things, I recognize that they are essential because they're essential for my mood and my sanity. So I don't think that really answers the question, but that's kind of how I do it. Also, not being a very social person, like not making a lot of plans, makes it a lot easier to balance things. All right, making friends as an adult. So that's a big topic. I could do a whole video on that topic. Let me know if you'd like me to. But I think the biggest thing to understand with making friends as an adult is that it's going to be hard. You cannot expect it to be easy. If it's easy, that's great. Don't go in with that expectation. Because you're not in school anymore, you're not just spending all day with people and you have more responsibility than like passing an algebra test and figuring out if Jake from calculus likes you or not. It just becomes a lot harder to maintain friendships because you do have to go out of your way to maintain them. And you also have a lot of other things taking up your brain space because corporate America. So one, I think, is just understanding that it's going to take effort, and then two is putting in the effort. I love Bumble BFF. Bumble BFF, if you want to sponsor me, like, let's go. When I first moved to Chicago, I went on tons of friend dates, and not all of them went well, but some of them did, and I made one of my best friends using Bumble BFF. We are still friends now. It's been like 5-6 years. Also, be open to finding friendships anywhere. I didn't think that I would make any friends at work because I work in a very male-dominated field. So I was like, I'm probably not going to make any lifelong friends here. And then one day at a summer party, I met this other girl at the company. We immediately clicked. We talked all night. I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, I think we could be really good friends. I didn't say that to her, but that's what I was thinking. And so when I got home that night, I actually texted her that I made it home and also made sure that she got home. Because like usually friends will be like, text me when you get home so I know you're safe. And I like never text them and they never follow up. So my friends aren't concerned if I got kidnapped or not. But anyways, I got home and immediately texted her. And in my head, I was just like, we're gonna be friends. She might not know it yet, but we're gonna be friends. Like, you gotta put in that follow-up if you find somebody that you really click with and be like, okay, I really like this person, like this is rare, I'm gonna follow up with them and make more plans, or at least make it known that I just like them as a human being. And that's another thing, going into social situations, and this isn't always appropriate, but in most situations I just try to go in full force with my whole personality. Like, upon meeting people, I kind of make an effort to just say some really weird shit because that's what I'm thinking and that's what I'm like if you're gonna be my friend, this is how it's gonna be. So like, you might as well just go all in right away because they're either gonna like it and want more of it, and well, at least now you know right away, instead of pretending to act like a different type of person and then showing your true colors later and they're like, oh, you're actually really weird. So I've always found it to be an effective method. It's how I've made most of my friends, and it's also how I approached dating, which is probably why some of my dates thought I was an insane person, but it's also why I ended up with somebody who really gets me and understands me. So do with that information what you will. And like I said, I could keep talking about this topic. Just the whole concept of maintaining friendships, making friendships in your 20s and your 30s, I think is so interesting. So let me know if you want a whole video on that. We're just gonna chill out and answer these last few questions. Okay, how do you make big life decisions like where to live, who to boyfriend, what to job? Big decisions that I make in life, purely gut instinct. Like, I will spend way too much time trying to like pick out a dress to wear to a wedding, but where to live, where to go to school, who to date, I just go all in. Probably because if I thought about it too much, I would just never do anything ever. But truly, the biggest decisions, where I decided to go to school, where I decided to study abroad, where I decided to move after school, what job I decided to take, who I've decided to be friends with, literally all of that has occurred just because I have like this gut instinct. It doesn't always work out. Like moving to New York, like I said, I didn't end up loving it, and that's not where I ended up staying. I do think it was something that I needed to do though, and that my gut was still leading me in the right direction. Like, you might make a decision sometimes and be like, why the fuck did I do that? But I can almost guarantee you, years down the line, you're gonna look back and be like, oh, that's why I had to do that. You know, and then there's other decisions I've made, like dating David. David and I met on Hinge. We started talking on there, and we were people who, like, I would send a text message one day and then he would send a message one day. Like, we weren't going back and forth very frequently. And then just one night he was like, hey, do you want to go get a drink? And I was literally sitting on my couch. I was about to watch Stranger Things. Like, I was in for the night, but just something in my gut said, you should go on this date. And so I just did, and it felt right. Like, every date we went on, every time we hung out, I was just like, this feels like a good person. That just feels right. This just feels like something I need to explore. Same thing with friendships in high school. I moved high schools when I was in 10th grade, and I was just about to leave school one day and I saw this girl. She was in one of my classes. We had talked a bit. She was standing talking to this other guy and I think one other person, and I could have just walked out of school, gotten into my mom's car and gotten home, but something in my gut just said, go up and insert yourself into that situation, which is not something I enjoy doing. But my gut was like, you need to go insert yourself into whatever they are talking about. I can't tell you why, I just know you need to do it. And so I did. They said that they were going to hang out after school. They invited me to come along, and those ended up being, I'm gonna cry. Those ended up being my best friends. Thought I wasn't gonna cry in this video at all. Okay, hold on. So yeah, if that question is really like, how do you make big decisions in life? Your gut, it's so hard to explain. I mean, you can ask people for advice, you can ask people what you should do, but at the end of the day, it's whatever you feel in here. And don't stop trusting it, even if you make a decision based off of it that feels wrong. Again, going back to the New York example, I could look back on that and be like, my gut led me astray. My decision to take that job that I ended up hating, I could look back on that and be like, my gut led me astray. But then it led to me being able to do content creation part-time. So things end up working out. Your gut is trying to get you to the right place, but sometimes you got to go through a bad place to get there. One of the best pieces of advice that I ever received, actually, it was from my academic advisor in college, and she said, Morgan, when one door closes, another door always opens, but sometimes the hallway in between them is hell. And that just really stuck with me. Sometimes the only way to get to where you want to be is to go through a whole bunch of crap, but you just have to understand that if you're still in the crap, it means that you haven't reached the destination yet. So you just got to trust that the crap is pushing you to the destination. They should put that in a philosophy book. Okay, on that note, next question. Okay, this is going to be the last question because I've been talking for far too long. How do you handle comparison in your 20s? Everyone's in different stages. So I think the answer to this question is in the question, and that is that everyone's in different stages. Like, your 20s are very weird because of this. Like, everyone's kind of in a different life stage. Some people are single, some people are still living with their parents, some people are happily married with children. Like, it's all over the place. Because of that, I feel like it's very difficult to not compare yourself, but at the same time, you have to realize everything is so different that there's clearly not one right answer. Like, there's no one right thing you should be doing. I think you gotta let that alleviate some of the pressure. You're doing what you need to do, other people are doing what they need to do, and neither of those things is better than the other. All my friends from high school are married, own homes, they have kids. Unmarried, not a homeowner, no children. I could very easily sit here and compare myself to them and be like, man, I'm so far behind, like I haven't done any of those things, like woe is me, I'm so sad. Luckily, I've never felt like doing that though. I look at their lives and I'm like, you are doing what you need to do, you're doing what you want to do, I'm so happy for you. I'm also doing what I want to do and what I need to do, and they just happen to be different things. Can it cause a strain on friendships if your friends are doing different things than you, if they're in a different life stage? Yeah, it definitely can. It can make it harder to relate. And sometimes it means that the friendship needs a break for a while. There's nothing wrong with that. Another thing I like to remember is to not compare yourself to other people, compare yourself to past versions of you. So like, instead of scrolling through social media and being like, oh my god, Sally from high school is doing this, now I'm so sad about myself. Instead, scroll back in your own little memory bank and be like, what was I doing 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 6 months ago? What am I doing now? How have I improved? What's going better? What's going worse? What could I work on? And use that as your point of comparison. I think most of the time when you do that, you're gonna find, hey, I'm actually doing a lot better than I was 2 years ago. Like, that's actually a lot of improvement, and that's a healthy comparison. Looking at Sally from high school is not a healthy comparison. Also, when you do find yourself comparing yourself to other people, because it will happen, ask yourself, am I feeling bad about myself because I actually want the thing that this other person has? Or am I feeling bad because society has told me that I should want this thing or I should be doing this thing and I'm not? I used to think like I should be married by the time I'm 30. I should own a home by the time I'm 30. I should be at this point in my career by the time I'm 30. I just wanted to check those boxes off because I would see other people doing them, or society just told me that's what I should be doing. But then when I asked myself, why do I want these things? The answer was literally just because other people are doing them. And that's not a good answer. I was like, I need to focus on working towards the things that I want in life because I want them, not because somebody else told me I should want them. And if you find yourself comparing and it is because it's something you really want, then you know that's something you need to put your time and energy into achieving. I'm not saying it's necessarily going to be easy, but at least you know that you'll be putting your time and energy into something you actually want instead of something that just like society wants for you. So, okay, my brain is starting to shut down. I found that even though I'm an introvert and I get tired talking to other human beings, I also get tired talking to myself. So that's happening now. I hope you enjoyed this video, this little chores and chats. Please do not forget to leave a comment introducing yourself, sharing a fun fact, or answering one of the prompts that I gave at the beginning of the video. I really want to get to know you guys more. And yeah, make sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to see more of my face. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.